So today I'm going to talk about fear and anxiety. So just to kick off this video, I wish everyone well in regards to what's going on now with the lockdown. I do try my best every day to do something positive, a couple of positive things to keep me happy, and I always try and put something positive out on YouTube, on the channel, that can give people some confidence, motivation, hope, or if anything, just have the courage to admit some of my fears, which I think always helps a lot of people, because when someone admits to their fears, it always makes you feel a little bit better about having your own fears. So fear and anxiety. Number one, the reason why a lot of people don't progress in any area of life is because they don't like how fear and anxiety feels. Now, I learnt this myself when I was a young boy growing up. I hated the feeling, if I'm being honest. I actually despised that feeling of fear and anxiety. One of my first early childhood memories were I felt very frightened to go to school as a young kid. I remember trying to get my mum to keep me off school and saying I'm sick, I've got a headache. I was petrified on some days of going to school, right? And what was petrifying me was the feeling, was the reaction to the kind of psychological fears that are in my head. And a couple of those fears were, what if I fail at school? What if I don't understand the lesson that's being taught by the teacher, and then I look stupid and the kids make fun of me and laugh? Or what if one of the kids tries to bully me at school and I'm not able to stand up for myself, and it's going to make me feel like a terrible person. It's going to be a terrifying experience. So anyway, moving on, as I got older into my teens and later teens, I continued to privately struggle with fear and anxiety, and I didn't really speak about it, only really to my mum and a little bit to my dad. I never spoke about it. I was always embarrassed about it. I was always ashamed, and I was always too frightened to share that type of vulnerability with anyone, to be honest. Like I said, other than my mum, who I trusted, and my dad, I wouldn't really share it. Maybe with my nan, but nothing outside of the family. I wouldn't tell friends, I wouldn't tell teachers, I wouldn't tell female friends or male friends growing up. I kept it to myself. As I got older, I started to realise, I'm not the only one who feels like this. Actually, everybody else has the same fears that I do. It's just that a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people, are not honest about their fears. I'm going to go on a bit of a side tangent here. The thing that I really don't understand in the education system, right? And now correct me if I'm wrong, if it's changed, then I'll apologise. But when I went to school, and I first went to nursery, that's what we call it in England here. If you're from the States or somewhere else or around the world, you guys might call it college or high school. First place we start with education is nursery, then primary school, then secondary school, then college, and then university. If you go off to university, I didn't go to university. I was too scared to go to university, that's the truth. And I wasn't that passionate about it back then. So, learning at school, learning at the time, history, science, maths, English, religious education, food technology, sports, drama, geography, science. I think I've named most of the classes. There might be a few more. They're the main ones. Learning all these things is important, because obviously it does teach you how to add up, how to do math, which is important, so you can calculate and add up stuff. And obviously the basics are how to count money to begin with, and then just basically learning how to add up, subtract, take away, multiply. So these things are important, of course, and learning how to write in English, how to write properly with the right punctuation and spelling and grammar. It's all important, yeah. And then learning about science and history, yeah, these things are important. But what I can't understand is they don't teach any lessons in schools on how to deal with fear. And as you get older, there's going to be a lot of life situations, everyone, for men and women, old and young, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to face your fears in order to live a normal life. Even if you didn't want to be a mega success or Like a lot of people today want to be celebrities, or they want to be big on YouTube, or they want to succeed in sports and or singing or entertainment, stuff like that. Just to live a normal life, at some point you're going to have to face that feeling, and I'll give some concrete examples. At some point, everybody's got to ask someone out. You're going to be attracted to someone, and you're going to have feelings, and you're going to want to tell that person, you're going to want to ask them out on a date. Now, they don't teach this stuff in school. They don't teach men and women how to have self-confidence and courage, and they don't do any classes really that just focus on how to deal with fight or flight adrenaline, fear and anxiety, which is such an important part of life, and it's an important part of mental health, and it affects every aspect of your life. You know, if you're good at maths and English, right, that's all good and well, but if you can't face your fears to go on and progress in those subjects, example, if you wanted to be an English teacher or a maths teacher yourself, but you couldn't face your fear of public speaking, which is something that you're going to need to do if you want to teach a class or a group, if you're not able to handle your fear and your anxiety, then you're not going to be able to go and do your desired job. So that's one example. Another example is learning how to deal with life's responsibilities. So learning how to move out, you know, learning how to cook, learning how to pay bills, learning how to make phone calls when you've got a, you know, you might have to speak to someone in authority or the bank at some point, or go to the doctors, or, you know, and a lot of these things require, you know, having to face your fears. But I don't understand why we live in a culture and an education system which doesn't specialise in this and doesn't include this as an actual subject, you know, life skills, fear and anxiety, because it's something that you do need to learn how to get good at. Just like you learn how to get good at maths or English or religious education or science or RE or drama or literature, you know, this is an important life skill. I think this is even more important than maths and English. And I'm going to name another one. At some point, you're going to have to face the fear of meeting new people, making new friends. Every single young person and an adult has got fears of being rejected by people, and has got fears of, you know, meeting new people and being intimate and building a proper friendship. And nobody really teaches this stuff in school. There's no social skills, you know. I don't ever remember these classes, and that's why so many kids leave school with a hell of a lot of talent, but a lot of people don't go on to fulfill their potential because their fears are holding them back, and they're too proud and too scared to openly admit that they've got fears. I had so many fears starting out, and several years ago, that's how I became successful. Even before I could even get to a point of being a teacher and being a confidence coach and a dating and relationship expert, getting to a world level where I was coaching people from all around the world. People were flying in from America, pretty much all around the world, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, Africa, Asia, also Middle East. People travelled all around the world to come and take my coaching and get my help. Now, for me to get to that point of being able to teach people and help people to build social confidence, and also help people to face their fears and take more action in their lives, I had to face all those fears myself. It was terrifying, and I had to learn as I went along. So I failed a lot at the start. I found it very difficult, you know, meeting new people and making YouTube videos and even selling. In school, they don't teach you how to sell. You know, we live in a world, every single day, selling is happening. Buying. When you go into a shop, you're buying something, they're selling you something. So they don't teach you in school even how to sell and make money. Something that is a basic skill which isn't being taught. And that's why there's so many people out there who actually don't know how to make money. They've got great ideas. They don't know how to pick up the phone and negotiate and sell with honesty, which is what I always taught, not manipulation and tricks and things like that. Sell with integrity. They don't know how to do it. They physically can't cope with the stress and the anxiety of picking up the phone and speaking to someone and helping that person to solve their problem, which is the basic essence of, you know, business and entrepreneurship, is solving a problem on the market. And all these things that I'm explaining today, teaching people, I had to learn this the hard way. I was mostly self-taught, and how I learned was the old school way, the hard way, where I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't go in with a game plan, I wasn't qualified, I just had to jump in the deep end and just basically adapt and just see what happened. When I first started selling, I went to a lot of one-on-one business meetings, and I was absolutely petrified before going on the meetings. My legs were shaking, I felt physically sick, I felt nauseous, I lost my appetite, but I had the courage to push myself and go on these meetings and just learn as I went along. And I learned through experience, you know, through trial and error. I started to learn, you know, it really comes down to quite simple things. Honesty is number one, being genuine, trying to help people, and having the confidence to speak up for yourself and say, look, are you interested in what I have to offer? Person says, yes, I'm interested. How much does it cost? This is the price. Do you want to take the program? Do you want to buy the product? Person says, yes, I do. Great, deal done. Or no, I don't want to buy it. Okay, that's fine. Learning to handle rejection. But I don't teach these things in school, and as I said, I just can't understand it, because these things are life skills that are going to help you in so many different ways. Like I said, I've given a couple of examples, and there's a lot more. They don't teach you how to communicate, like I said earlier. They don't teach you how to face that fear, and everybody's got great skills. I've noticed that over the years. Every single person, whatever background they're from, or religion, or colour, or creed, or social class, everyone's got some great skills within them that they're born with. But if you're not shown, or if you're not helped, or if you don't adapt self-motivation, which I had at some point, then you're not going to progress. You're not going to be able to show the world what you've got. You're going to be this person who's so talented, but nobody knows about what you have to offer, so you're not going to move forward in life. You're not going to succeed. And like I said, even skills like going on a first date, they don't teach that. That's why so many young men are lost. They don't know how to go on a first date and start a relationship. They don't know, you know, how to have basic social skills, how to invite someone out, how to take someone out for dinner or for a coffee, or for some people for a drink. You know, these things are really important. This can shape your future. This is the difference between someone having a wife, starting a family, and I just don't understand why, you know, this is something as human beings that we all need, that we're all gonna at some point have to experience. But if we haven't been taught the basic fundamentals, which is how to conduct yourself while you're under extreme amounts of fear and anxiety and pressure, then you're going to be held back. And of course there's going to be more young people and even older people with depression and anxiety. And the more I started to face my fears, the more I started to figure these things out in life, and I started to develop what I would call life skills. Because I always had talent. I was born, even as a young kid, I was always intelligent, and I was very creative and also quite sporty. So I had talents in different areas, and I was naturally, even as a kid, even though I was shy and I was a bit socially awkward, I was very good with people. I was very good at building trust because I was very genuine. I was very good at, you know, being empathetic and being able to sort of read people's emotions and their feelings and be a friend and make people laugh. But I still had to go out and push through my fears to develop those skills. And that's how I really built the relationship that I've got on the YouTube channel now, because no one taught me. No one sat me down and said, well, this is how you build a YouTube channel, you know, this is how you impact people from all around the world, this is how you speak in front of the camera. I just had a lot of guts and courage, and I was frightened to death before I did it, but I was able to keep putting myself in that situation until I got more and more confident and I could control that fear and that anxiety. So I really do think at some point in the future, I do believe, and if anyone knows more than I do, let me know in the box below, in regards to whether the schools or universities or colleges are starting to teach people how to cope with fear and anxiety. And I'm not talking theory, man. I'm not talking theory from textbooks. That doesn't work. I'm talking about practical tools, real world experience, not someone just going, take that book, read that. It's not going to help you. It's so easy. Anyone can sit down with a book or a phone and go on Google and read about fear and anxiety. But it's not the same as you going into a real situation where you're absolutely petrified before you're going in, your heart's beating out of your chest, you can hardly speak. Now, I know that might sound really gruesome, and it might sound very intense and raw, but it's true. It's the truth. And if you're not being truthful about these things, then there's going to be so much more mental illness and suffering. And I've had, well, some of you may or may not know, I've had my share of mental health problems, but I've also had a great life as well in periods. So it hasn't been all doom and gloom for me. I have had a really great life, and I could easily write a book about my life story. It would probably inspire millions of people, right? I'm not being big head, just being honest. So when I look back and I think, God, I could have easily not lived my dreams several years ago. I was living my dreams around age 28. So that might be late for some of you, might be young. And by the time I got to 30 to 31, I'd achieved global success. I had my own successful business, I had a beautiful girlfriend, I made money, I'd become my own boss, I helped people, thousands of people from all around the world. I did so much in-person coaching. I didn't just do videos like this. As I said, I met people that travel from all around the world. I coached them in London, I'd done workshops, I gave hundreds of public talks and lectures, and I was someone that didn't believe in themselves, thought they were stupid, and was made fun of at school, and I didn't failed my GCSEs, didn't go to university, and I later realised I didn't need to. There's nothing wrong with education. I think education is really important, and any kid or parent watching this, I'd really encourage you to educate yourself and go to school. But at the same time, not everybody is suited for university. That's not the right path for it. It wasn't the right path for me. If I went to uni, I would never have built what I've built today. I wouldn't have helped thousands of people. I wouldn't have found my purpose in life, which was teaching people how to face fear and how to build confidence through that process. Because that's another lesson I want to give you today, a life lesson. That horrible feeling of fear and anxiety, the more you face that, the more confidence you gain. And confidence is so important, like I said, because you need confidence to sell yourself in this world, whether you want to be a mathematician, a scientist, a writer, an engineer. There might be certain areas and departments or industries where you might not have to face as much fear as another one, but you're still going to have to face fear. You're still going to have to ask someone out, and you're going to have to risk being turned down, and also the fear of responsibility and success. So many young people, I had it, so many young people are terrified of success, so they'll sabotage things in their life, and they'll do it for various different ways, maybe drugs, alcohol, negative relationships, or they just will hide in their bedroom because they're not been taught, they've not been helped or mentored in the area of learning how to deal with stress in life and how to deal with success, which was a lesson that I had to later learn. First lesson I had to learn was how to deal with failure, which they don't teach in schools. They teach you more or less to be terrified of it and be ashamed of it, which is silly, because failure is a part of success. I failed so many times. If I didn't go through those failures, I never would have got those big wins, those big successes, and all the adulation that come with that, which is quite nice, obviously. So I had to go through the failures starting out. I failed, in my business when I started out. I failed financially. I failed with relationships. I failed with marketing, all these different areas, because I wasn't fully qualified and I was still learning. But I didn't quit. I kept learning. I started to change things and understand, let me change that. Maybe that's why I'm failing. Let me work on my body language. Let me work on smiling more. Let me work on improving my fashion. Let me work on learning to listen better when I'm communicating with people. Let me do some studying. Let me learn from people that are more confident than me, or someone that's come from a similar place and succeeded, then I'd give it another shot, and eventually I'd break through and succeed. And then I succeeded in my business, in entrepreneurship, and I succeeded with getting a girlfriend, and then eventually moving out of my parents and moving in. And so I was just developing and growing and growing and growing, and that was because I become fearless. I wasn't someone who wasn't frightened. I was extremely frightened, but I wasn't frightened of admitting I was frightened, and I wasn't frightened to go and face my fears and get uncomfortable until a lot of the fears that I had problems with, I completely overcome them. Some of them, this is the honest account, some of the other fears, I was still frightened of them, but I could manage them. I could get through them and succeed and perform and carry out whatever task I needed to carry out, whether it was helping someone or giving a public talk or mentoring a group of 4 to 6 students and helping them with confidence and social skills and dating skills and life skills. So I just think these things are so important, which is why I want to shoot a video. Being in lockdown has given me a lot of time to think about things, and this is something that I'm really passionate about. And if there was something I could have had more at school, I wish I would have had somebody like me, obviously in adult form or whoever, who could have encouraged me and made me feel good about myself and made me not feel ashamed for having fear or less of a person, and someone who could be honest and say, look, we all have fear. I have fear. Everybody has it, but you can learn how to manage it better, and then you can live your dreams. Then you can not be living life on eggshells and always holding yourself back, and you can do anything. You can ask someone out, you can travel, you can make friends, you can encourage people, you can inspire people, you can set your own business up. Or if you want, some people who didn't get good grades, they want to go back to university when they're older, and that is a very frightening thing. I've had a lot of people who have told me that. So what about people who want to study more and they want to improve intellectually, they want to go back to university, they want to put their life right? But what about those people that have got terrible social anxiety and they might not end up going to university, not because they're not clever, they're extremely clever and talented, but they're too frightened of meeting new people and signing up and enrolling. Those people need help. They need encouraging. They need someone to tell them that if you change your mindset, if you accept that you're going to be uncomfortable for a certain period, and then things will get really good for you, then you'll settle in and you'll get comfortable and it will just be normal. What about these conversations? So many people need to hear this. I needed this when I was younger, instead of hearing a negative conversation like you can't do that, you're not qualified, or you haven't got, you're not right for the job, or you couldn't be successful, or you failed at school, or you come from this social class, or your personality wouldn't fit in that box, or you don't have what it takes. It's no good, because the reality is you can succeed if you really want to, but you're not going to get there, like I said, if you can't face this feeling. And I'll be honest with you, today I actually felt quite nervous about doing this video for some reason. I guess it's because I'm speaking about things that are really truthful and really important, and usually when you speak on these things, there's always a proportion of people that don't like it. They don't like you being so honest. They feel, I don't know, somewhat offended, or they feel insecure. But a big group of people will love you for telling the truth and putting something positive out that can change people's lives. So I'm only giving a true account of things that it's not like I sat there and went, I want to be a smart ass and come up with this. It was like, no, I didn't ever plan to do this video and say these things. Life taught me this. That it didn't care about what my feelings were or what your feelings were. It just laid it out on me, and then I was able to use my brain between my head, my common sense, and go, okay, this makes sense now. And I do understand that it's still a problem for so many adults and young people. They won't admit that they got fears and they're frightened because they think it's a weakness. But how can something that everybody's got and born with be a weakness? And most of it, as you know, is false evidence appearing real. It's something, you're trying to get rid of something that doesn't really exist. It exists psychologically, but it also does exist emotionally which for me was always the most terrifying part, not just psychologically thinking about scenarios that frightened me, but my emotional response. I was scared of my own emotions until I could start learning how to control them and face them, and you build such a good self-confidence. But even today, even at age 37, after all the things I've been through, and I've achieved a lot of success, a hell of a lot, and I've failed a lot as well in life. I've had my challenges, especially with my mental health. I still have fears. I still have fears every single day I have to face. I've still got other fears that I'm pushing myself to face, but that's totally fine, and it's honest, and so is everybody else. And just because someone, is successful, it 100% doesn't mean that they don't have fear. They do have fear. They have it, and there's quite a few people that would admit it, and some won't. So that's it. That's all I really wanted to say. I rest my case. And it's I suppose this conversation is going to take some time to see these positive changes happen, possibly in schools or universities. And like I said, if it's happening anywhere, please let me know. I'd be really happy, because obviously at the moment I haven't been checking up on every school and university as to what they teach, but from what I do know, these things weren't taught when I was around at school. And I spoke to a lot of other people, clients, who said it was the same for them. They didn't get taught confidence and social skills and life skills and relationship skills. You cannot entertain these things. You cannot develop in these areas without that fear. You have to break through that barrier, because it's going to come up. It's going to come up in every different scenario. When you start a new job, when you want to start a new business, when you first start going out with someone, you're going to have relationship fears. When you first give a presentation, when you first move to a new apartment, when you first quit your job, when you first stand up to your boss if he's bullying you or being disrespectful, when you first take your exams, fear is going to be there. And if you don't know how to cope with it, then you're not going to be fully happy in life, and you're going to be depressed. All right? Become fearless.